Good morning, everybody. It's time for some more Seattle Seahawks predictions. And you know what position is up today. We are talking about the cornerbacks, one of the most exciting positional groups on the team going into 2023. So, we're going to go through the cornerbacks that I think are going to get to play this year for the Seahawks. We're going to try to take a guess at what kind of numbers they're going to put up. These are the numbers that we're going to be looking at. Obviously, during the season, we're going to go into even further depth with these guys. I am not abandoning my weekly pass coverage video segment. So, these numbers, I think, will do a fairly good job of encapsulating how the players are playing. You've got tackles, which, especially for some of these guys, is going to be very important to keep an eye on because obviously it's kind of the big hole in our star cornerbacks game. And also, it's one of the more exciting elements of the game of our top rookie from the 2023 class. And you've also got some coverage stuff here, a bunch of coverage things here that should do a fairly good job of capturing how well they're playing in coverage. Again, we're going by PFR numbers here in case there's any confusion. I always go by PFR if PFR is available. I think they grade a little harsher, which I prefer. And yeah, I think that these numbers will do a fairly good job of encapsulating what a cornerback is doing. I don't have any kind of like blitzing metrics here because I don't think any of our cornerbacks will blitz that much. You might see a few blitzes from a nickel cornerback. Maybe one or two of them get home, but that's about it. So I'm not really going to be weighing the success or failure of a cornerback on this team by how well they do on the blitz because they're probably just not going to do it enough. So with that in mind, I think that everybody knows what's up here. I think everybody knows who's going to lead us off, so I'm just going to jump right in here. Our number one cornerback going into this season is, of course, Tariq Woolen, coming off his awesome rookie season in 2022, where he had 6 interceptions, tied for league lead, and had really good cover numbers, and started day one and barely missed any snaps. I do think that he will, as a player, be better. I don't know if his performance will be better, and I'll talk about why in a second here, but let's start with one area where I think he'll definitely be better, which is tackles. I have him getting up to 71. Not an over-the-top crazy high number, but honestly, you don't want that number that high. If a cornerback is getting a lot of tackles, it often means that they're giving up a ton of completions and just getting the tackle after giving up the catch. So 71 is good. It's a small improvement over last year. The main thing with Woolen is that I think he'll be a better tackler. Last year, he was not a good tackler, and he was not good in run support. I think he'll be better in those areas, partially because he was so lackluster in those areas last year. He kind of has to get better, but I do think he's going to start moving towards being the all-around great cornerback that would make him considered by the entire NFL to be one of the best corners in the league. Like right now, you can see it. He's not getting a ton of respect from the rest of the league. He's not getting ranked in the top 10 by pretty much anybody's top 10 cornerback list. And it's, to me, the only logical explanation for it is that it's because he's not a good tackler yet. So, going to make some advancements in that area. But the most important thing will continue to be his coverage, and I think that will continue to go really well. I have him getting 19 passes defensed. He's always getting his hands on the ball. He's always around the ball. You can never really leave him in the dust because he's faster than pretty much everybody he goes up against. Like maybe Tyreek Hill's faster than him, but we're not playing Tyreek Hill this year anyway. He can always catch up even when he gets beat, and this year he should be playing more man defense, which should mean better play, more plays on the ball, and to me this is the most important thing. I think he's going to get targeted more because we've got a Devon Witherspoon, or excuse me, Devin Witherspoon on the other side. And with better cornerback play across from Woolen, teams are not going to get the opportunity to just avoid him. There were some games last year where opposing teams just avoided Woolen's side of the field because they knew how dangerous it was to attack him. So this year, if Witherspoon lives up to the expectations and has a, at the very least, better season than Jackson had last year, which I think is reasonable, then I do think that Woolen will get targeted more and he'll be able to make some more plays on the ball. Interceptions, I said a repeat from last year. I think he's going to get 6. It could go up pretty easily. It would not shock me if it got up to 7 or 8. He is such a good playmaker on the ball. He makes great plays on the ball. He's got good hands because he's a former receiver. And the fact that I think defenses will target him more could lead to more interceptions. But I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself here. 6 would still be either league lead or very close to league lead. I'm not going to extend beyond that quite yet. Targets, I say he gets targeted 73 times. Again, it's not going to be as easy to stay away from him this season. So I do think he gets targeted a little bit more just because teams are going to have no choice. They're going to try to pick a little bit more on the linebackers and Jackson and Witherspoon, but they won't always be able to. And I think he allows 35 completions, which is pretty close to what happened last season in terms of completion percentage. So if he only allows a completion on just under half of his targets, that's really good. I'm really happy about that. So if he can have something around this area, I think that's great. However, I do think he's going to allow more yards than he did last year. I have 480. Reason being, we're going to play more man defense, and we're going to play... we're going to run more blitzes, I think. We're not going to have our safeties drop back the way we did in previous years all the time. We're going to be more aggressive. So that means when Woolen gets beat, he gets beat bad. On the rare occasions when Woolen does give up a play and miss a tackle, the guy might be gone because Diggs is not going to be back there all the time. Safeties are not going to be over the top all the time to protect. So I think Woolen doesn't give up very many completions, but I think a couple of those completions are going to be big plays, so he's going to give up more yards. Touchdowns, I went with 3. I don't think he's going to give up a ton of touchdowns. I said 3. I think that's probably pretty reasonable here. So, good season for Woolen. More yards, mostly just because of the way the defense will play. And I think we'd all happily take this as year 2 from Tariq. Now we move on to Witherspoon, the rookie. He's our next guy up. I think he's going to start outside and base, and he's going to slide over to the nickel spot in nickel packages. So he'll get to play a lot, and I think he's going to build up a decent number of tackles. I went with 55. When you're lined up in the slot a decent chunk of the time, you're more involved in run defense, and he's a great tackler anyway. The reason why I don't think this number is higher is because I do think he'll miss some games. Just kind of call it a feeling. I think he's going to end up playing in like 13, maybe 14 games this year. So 55 tackles. I'm going to go with 12 passes defensed. He's going to make a lot of plays on the ball. I think that's, especially if we sit in man defense, should be able to make a lot of plays on the football. So I went with 12, which would be close to 1 a game if my prediction about him only playing in 13 games or so is right. But I think he can do it. I think he can handle it. I think teams are going to have to throw the ball on us a little more this year because our run defense won't be as bad and our offense will be better. So I'm going to go with 12 passes defense, and I'm going to go with 3 interceptions. It's a bold prediction for a rookie. I mean, Tariq Woolen aside, most rookies don't get more than a couple interceptions in their rookie seasons. So 3 would be really good, but I'm liking this guy. I'm liking what I'm hearing about him. I'm feeling good about where this is going with Devon Witherspoon. Say 3 interceptions. I do think he gets targeted a decent amount because he is a rookie. He's going to make some mistakes, and it is probably preferable to target him over Tariq Woolen. So even though he plays in less games, I think he does get targeted 75 times. I have him giving up 42 completions. More than good enough for a rookie, any rookie. And I went with 498 yards. Kind of the same thought process here. The catches he gives up are going to be longer in all likelihood because I think our defense will be playing more aggressively. So 42 completions, 498 yards, that's still okay. I don't think he's going to get toasted deep the way that I think Woolen will probably once or twice this season because he's already doing the stuff where he's baiting quarterbacks. It's got to come back to hit you once or twice. But still, going to give up a healthy chunk of yards, but I'm more than willing to take the good with the bad here. And I said he allows 4 touchdowns. I think he's going to be somebody who gets targeted somewhat frequently in the red zone because it's better than targeting Woolen in the red zone. Okay, next up we got Michael Jackson, and I think he's going to get to play a decent amount. My guess is he starts on the outside in nickel packages, and he will also play outside whenever Witherspoon misses games. And I already said I think Witherspoon's going to miss a few games. So I'm going to give him a healthy number of tackles here, actually, 62. One way or the other, he's going to consistently find his way out onto the field. I think he's probably going to play in every game. I think you're going to see him out there more than you expect because Witherspoon's going to miss a few games in my prediction, and Jackson's going to continue to find ways onto the field even when Witherspoon is healthy. 62, I went with 9 passes defensed. Pretty healthy, reasonable number for a guy who isn't going to be a full-time player. So I went with 9 interceptions. I went with just 1. I don't think his takeaway ball skills are anything great, so I just went with the 1. At some point, he's going to find a way to 1. He gets targeted 59 times. He is probably going to be the guy that teams want to target more than anyone else in the cornerback group of guys who are actually going to be on the field consistently, like Woolen and Witherspoon. Tough to pick on those guys. It's going to be tough. I think Jackson gets picked on a little bit just because he's there. I went with 38 completions, so not bad, don't get me wrong, but the odds are probably more in your favor going after Jackson than the other 2 corners on this team. Yards allowed, I went with almost 600. I think he's going to be the guy who gives up the most big plays. I think he's going to be the guy who gets more consistently. They're going to try, opposing offenses are going to try to move their receivers around so they can isolate their best receivers on Jackson when the opportunity is afforded to them. So I think he ends up giving up quite a bit, but it's going to be one of those things where mostly it's because somebody has to give up the big plays. Somebody's going to have to give up the big games, the big yards. And I said 2 touchdowns. I feel like Witherspoon's going to get targeted in the red zone more because of his size. So those are your 3 primary cornerbacks going into the season. You got some damage, but not a lot. Now moving on to the depth guys, we got Coby Bryant. Now Coby Bryant, I don't know what he's going to do this year. Is he going to play corner? Is he going to play slot? Is he going to play safety? But I think he finds his way onto the field occasionally. So I'm going to give him 31 total tackles here. 31, less than 2 a game. He's going to get on the field more when somebody gets hurt. He's going to get on the field more when maybe we just decide we don't want to put a full slate of snaps on the shoulders of somebody like a Jamal Adams yet. So I'm going to say 31. He doesn't play a ton, but he does play some. Passes defensed, I said 4. He's got good ball skills, so even though I don't think he's going to play a ton, I think he will get on the field enough to make a few plays on the ball. I'm going to give him the 1 interception because he got hosed out of like 4 last season. So let's get him 1 this year. We got to get him the 1 interception at least. I say he gets targeted 26 times. I think he'll spend some time at safety, and you get targeted less when you're a safety. I went with 16 completions for a total of 249 yards. So he's going to give up some big plays. He just doesn't have the top-end speed to catch up in some situations where he gets beat. That plus this new aggressive defense means there are going to be some big plays hit on him. And I think he's going to allow 1 touchdown. So perfectly fine second season from Coby Bryant. He is getting pushed back a little bit here, but I don't think he played so well last year that he is entitled to playing time this year. And finally, we got Trey Brown up next here. Trey Brown, not going to be a lot left over for him because we just kind of stacked our cornerback room a little too much. And I don't really know where Trey Brown should be. So 15 tackles is my total here. I'm going to say 1 pass defensed and no interceptions. I'm going to say he gets targeted 6 times. I'm going to say he gives up 5 catches for 75 yards and no touchdown. So I'm not seeing a lot of action from Trey Brown here. I think that he's going to pick up whatever's left over from other players. I think he's going to maybe get in garbage time. I don't dislike Trey Brown, but that injury really kind of just derailed his career a little bit, and now he's looking up at a lot of guys in the cornerback room. So that gets us to our totals for the cornerback room. And yeah, 234 tackles, 45 passes defensed, 11 interceptions. I think that any reasonable Seahawks fan would be very happy with these results from the cornerbacks. 11 picks, 10 touchdowns, less than 1,900 total yards allowed in coverage. Really solid, really strong. And our cornerback room would definitely be trending in the right direction if they could have a season like this. So these are my predictions for the 2023 season. Let me know what you guys think down below about all this. Positive positive steps in the right direction for this team here. All right, see you guys later. Go Hawks.